Pastor Lee preached on John chapter 8, which started me thinking. Sorry about that, guys, but yeah, yeah, and John chapter 8, verse 11, and this was, and Lee brought out a great point. When we stand before Christ in the moment of salvation, and all our accusers have left, and we stand confronting Christ, knowing that we are a sinner, at that moment is a decision that we must make. We stand before Him, and Lee brought out a great picture. Never had thought about that woman caught that way as a picture of salvation. We must make that decision for Christ at that moment. Once we realize that we are actually a sinner and that we are undone without Him, we embrace Him. And Jesus says, your accusers are no more. Then He says in verse 11, and Jesus said unto her, neither do I condemn thee, go and sin no more. Go and sin no more. What would be similar to that verse? We've been talking about goals and ways to succeed in our lives. Matthew 5:48 came to my mind, so if you want to turn to that. We'll come back to John in a little bit, so if you want to hold that John chapter 8. But we will not spend a lot of time in John after that. Matthew chapter 5, verse 48. I'll wait for it. You know, the Bible is a great tool to look at yourself and see where you're short. This is actually going to be a heavy one, but I think it'll do us good. You know, the Bible shows us what we actually are. And it's a mirror to show what we're really like. And the Bible has a strong way of changing you if you look at it and take a hold of it and work with it. Matthew 5:48 says, be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. Now, when Jesus said, go and sin no more, do you think that woman actually went without sin the rest of her life? Come on. When Jesus says here, be perfect, even as your Father is in heaven is perfect, do you think people were perfect after He commands you to do that? No. You're going to fall. You're going to falter. You will fail. And what we've covered in Proverbs, once you fail, what's your resolution after you fail? Is it I give up? Or is it a higher resolution to go forward in a further trek, to go further with what you found out? When Jesus told the woman, go and sin no more, did she completely have the understanding of what sin was? Did she know all of what the endeavor she was encountering, what she had ahead of her? I don't think so. But why not get a better understanding of what sin is, embrace it in our lives, and then try to cast it off? People that are trying to get control of the passions and the appetites of their bodies have to realize just how deeply set inside of you it is, just how deep that sin has taken a hold of you, and how much power it will take to break it, to break those bonds that are tearing you down. And God is right there. He's there the whole time. And yes, I have moments of victory, then I have moments where I take a step or two back. But the thing is, what I talked about was to have a high resolve once you realize that you've got to get better, do better at what you're doing. That higher resolve will keep you pushing forward. The problem with the world is they look at sin in a different way than what the Lord looks at it. The biblical view of sin is much deeper and harder on a person than the human view. I'm going to give you a couple examples. Indiscretion. That is a human view of sin itself. And what that means, indiscretion means it's just a lack of judgment. You don't have good judgment. You're rash. You're foolish. That's an indiscretion. Ignorance is another way that the world looks. It says, you know, that person just doesn't have knowledge. That's the reason why he does the things that he does. An evolutionists would say it's the trait of the beast. It's the nature that's in you. And we do have a sin nature, but we're not beasts. We're created by God in the image of God. We are not beasts. As man tries to explain away sin, he looks at different ways of trying to calm it down. Don't be so tough with it. Sin is the absence of good. You have the right qualities in you if you're good. But so sin is just really, you're just not good enough. Or it's weakness. And we mentioned this some in Sunday school. You lack character or mental power. You don't have the power. And willpower comes to my mind. You're weak. You don't have willpower. I went through rehab with this old man, and he was the cook. He says, Reuben, what you lack? Willpower? And he thought it was funny, because willpower is not going to get you. Only the power of God is going to get you out of the problem that you're in. Once you see your plight, it's not willpower. It's God's power. Selfishness. That's what the world sees sin as. Oh, it's just purely selfish. He's acting in a selfish way. What characterizes selfishness? Caring too much for your oneself. Put your own interests in front of others. And selfishness can be sinful. But like I said, the world's trying to calm it down some and not make it so cutting to look at sin. When Jesus told the woman, go and sin no more, what is the full meaning of that when he told her that? All right? Jesus also, we'll go back to John chapter 8 and verse 46, gives us an example here of how he feels about sin. John 8:46. Which of you convinceth me of sin? And if I say the truth, why do you not believe me? Does anybody need to convince the Lord of sin? He knows. He can see the world. When Sodom and Gomorrah had that great sin that was rising up, the Lord's ear could hear the cry of those people on earth. And he had to go inspect it. The Lord knows the heart of man. He knows that it's desperately wicked. That it's deeply, terribly bad. The Lord doesn't need to be told from other people just what sin is. He can tell us, though. Let's look at Romans 3:23. Does anybody have that one memorized? Can anybody reel that one off for me? Romans 3:23. Somebody want us? Matthew, you got it. Go ahead.
Sure. For the wages of sin is death. Or for all of sin and comes short of the glory of God.
That's right. For all of sin. You're good. Romans 6:23.
Yeah.
Which is good. That's a good verse. Romans 3:23. For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. When they shoot the arrow at the target, like that, and let go of the bow, does it fall short? That's what sin is. Sin is falling short. Can we be as good as God? We will always fall short. That's right. That's right. So Romans 3:23 gives us that point. It's missing the mark. Not quite getting there. Okay, the next one, 1 John 3:4. Sin is a transgression. Well, you know what it means to transgress? 1 John 3:4. Whosoever committed sin transgresseth also the law. For the sin is the transgression of the law. The law was given to expose man to the fact that he has sin in his life. When we break the law, we transgress it. We go past it. We break the law. We transgress it. 1 John 3:4 brings that one. Joshua 7:11 through 15. 11 and 15. Joshua 7. 11. Like I said, we're going to be turning a lot. Joshua 7. Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers. Y'all got that? Deuteronomy. Joshua Judges, right? Joshua Judges.
Can we get into a slide presentation?
Yeah, we could. That way you don't have to do all that turning, right?
One day.
One day.
hard to see it straight.
Joshua 7, verses 11 and 15. All right. Israel has sinned, and they have also transgressed my covenant, which I have commanded them. For they have taken of the accursed thing, and have also stolen and dissembled themselves. They have put it even amongst their own stuff. When they take the spoils of war, the Lord was totally against that. Verse 15, and it shall be that he that is taken with the accursed thing shall be burnt with fire, he and all that he hath, because he hath transgressed the covenant of the Lord, and because he hath wrought folly in Israel. When God commands us to do a certain thing and we do not do it, it is transgression. It's a terrible thing to have happen. Verse 15 was the last. Isaiah 24:5. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. They have broken the laws. The laws of the land. The law, when we do wrong, that is a transgression. When we break the commandments, when we think of the 10 Commandments, there they are, and y'all have recited them and memorized them. That is a transgression of the law when you do those things. You covet your neighbor's goods. You put something else in front of God. When you lie, when you tell lies, you have transgressed the law. That is sin. Amen. The next piece to sin is unrighteousness. Romans 1:18. Romans 1:18. Turn that air on me because it was off.
You turned it on, or did you turn it on?
I turned it on.
Good. Is it getting hot in here?
Yeah, it's getting hot.
You want me to leave?
Yeah. Romans 1:18.
What?
For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness. How many times can you say unrighteousness or ungodliness? So sin is unrighteousness. You're bending what is right. You're not doing the right things. Romans 6:13. Neither yield your members as instruments of unrighteousness into sin, but yield yourselves unto God as those that are alive from the dead, and your members as instruments of righteousness unto God. We got to yield ourselves to God in order to live that righteous life. 2 Thessalonians 2:12. 2 Thessalonians 2:12. Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians. 2 Thessalonians 2:12. That one does not look right.
2 Thessalonians 2:12, yeah, that's perfect.
Did it?
Mm-hmm.
It is perfect, okay. That they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but have pleasure in unrighteousness. God's not happy with unrighteousness. Right living has to do with abiding by God's rules and standards that He has in the Bible. 1 John 5:17, another verse for unrighteousness. A lot of turning. 1 John 5:17. All unrighteousness is sin, and there is a sin not unto death. All unrighteousness is sin. You know there is a sin unto death too? There is a sin not unto death, but there's a sin unto death.